I'm Anne Walker, and I'm an 82-year-old widow who relies on someone like Ron for information to help me with any problems I might have with old age and how long my money's going to last. My initial contact with Ron was about 6 years ago through another investment company, and my husband was alive then, so my husband and I had seen two previous advisors, and then Ron came on the scene to help us, and then having lost my husband, Ron, unfortunately, he left the company, so we were taken over by another guy, and things seemed to be somehow winding down with this particular company. We weren't feeling terribly confident about them. And then Ron just phoned me one day to ask me how things were going, and he was happy to help me in any way if I felt more confident about coming back to him. And I did, and I didn't look back. I just sort of said yes, that was fine. Because having not paid a lot of attention to the details of finance and things like that, it was usually my husband who worried about all those things. So suddenly I had to start sort of thinking for myself a little bit more. So that's where I relied on Ron very much to come into the scene and help me with any queries I had. I had very little understanding of any of it, to be quite honest, so then I had to sort of start and pay a bit more attention to what I had and where I was at. And I find through Ron keeping in touch, either by phone or paying a visit to my home, because I'm quite away from where he is, so he was happy to come out and see me. I found that the knowledge he gave me helped me very much, and also my actual funds that I had were condensed, which made it easier for me. We seemed to have a whole heap of different things, so condensing it made it a lot easier for me to understand, yeah. Just assuring me really that I have sufficient money for what I'm going to need, for what life I've got left. Because sometimes I think I'm still very cautious because of the sort of man I was married to. He was cautious, so it's sort of gone on with me. I find now at this time of life will be needing to spend perhaps a bit more money on my health and different things like this. So it's very reassuring to know that the money is there and that I don't have any worries. And if I do start to have a few sort of thoughts where I get a bit uneasy about it, I just contact Ron and find that, you know, it's always, I feel a lot happier when I've spoken to him, yes. I really haven't had many occasions when I've had queries, but if I have, I don't hesitate but to get in touch with him, either by email or phone him up. And he's always explains things very well to me, which is very helpful. Yeah. I wouldn't hesitate but to recommend Ron, because I just find that he's a guy who will listen to you and shows a bit of sort of compassion with wherever you're at in life, whether you've been widowed or whatever. I wouldn't hesitate but to refer people on to him for advice. Just found it had a much more personal touch to it. You know, we used to just go along probably every 12 months or whatever to the previous advisors, but there was never quite that personal feel that I get with Ron. This is the sort of fella that you're just happy to sit down in your lounge room with and chat to, and he seems to have taken interest in your particular situation. At the time I lost my husband, I mean, there was so much going on in the way of funerals to worry about and everything else, and it was all quite, I wouldn't say unexpected, but the fact that my husband had been out the night before he went to hospital, and within 3 days of that was taken into hospital and he passed away. The last thing on your mind really is the finance side, but when it's all beginning to quieten down, you suddenly realise that you're hit with everything that he used to be coping with. That's when you do definitely need somebody to give you good advice. And I'm pretty sure I must have got, you know, a bit vague on what I did at the time, but I would say that I probably contacted Ron to inform him about Steve's passing, and he's just always been there for me whenever I needed his advice.